Again, if it were up to me, I would keep that music for the entirety of this live stream. To me, it's very peaceful, reduces a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, and that should be everyone's main priority right now. I know it sounds very cheesy, might sound even corny, but I really do feel as though at this point, if you are under a lot of stress, if you have not managed to sit out for a lot of this pain, right? And now you're starting to question, am I wrong? Am I, do I need to be bearish here? And here we are, we're obviously down -7% on the day, and it's been a relentless downtrend. Ever since then, we didn't even see a reaction at these range lows. And here you are just now after -20, -30%, starting to question, am I wrong here? Do I need to liquidate some of my longs? Do I need to sell some of my spot here that I was accumulating during this price action? Do I need to finally flip macro bearish? And do I have the emotional discipline to flip macro bearish? And my honest answer to you is if I was in that position, I wouldn't be able to. I'll be 100% completely honest with you. 6 years of discipline, 6 years of training, right? Of self mastery, of a journey of trying to master myself. And I don't think I would be, I guess, sculpted well enough emotionally to flip bearish here and now, to eat my losses, to do what I don't know, the market is quite literally implying needs to be done, and now all of a sudden flip bearish. So I'm saying this uh, not because it should be relevant to you, right? Because you should have expected the downtrend. You should have acknowledged the deviation in the first place, as we did. But the reality of the situation is no matter how many times I blabble about it, not everyone's going to do the exact same thing, right? And I would hope that more than anything, these streams teach you to think for yourself. So at this point, I'm aware that I'm not going to come into the stream and uh just kind of say I told you so, I told you so, haha, we're all just sitting here in cash, taking glory, taking bliss in the middle of the chaos, and just kind of sitting on our ass and saying, haha, bulls, we told you so, you're dumb, right? I'm not going to come in here and say that, because the reality of the situation is, regardless of that, if that is the analysis or not, there's a good chance that maybe even half of you, potentially more, I don't know, hopefully less, right, didn't do that and are finding yourself in this situation where, am I finally wrong? Do I need to come in and start selling some of my spot position? Do I need to let go of my bullish bias of the FUD is priced in, and we're not going to enter a bear market? We're I say that because we're already in a bear market. It's been very apparent, but uh, you know, you're just now starting to ask yourself these questions, and it's difficult. It really is difficult. And to be quite honest with you, I'm not sure that after 6 years of self mastery, right, this journey of being who I am today as a trader, I'm not quite sure I cannot comfortably come in here and 100% guaranteed say that I would have the emotional discipline required to make that shift right here and right now. Because you're right, we have just downtrended 35%. You know, today's daily candle is very exaggerated. We are approaching the nearmost daily demand zone after breaking down from this range, right? So I can't tell you that I would come in here and flip bearish right now, right here today, had we not already been bearish on the way down. The best piece of advice that I can give you at this point, if that is the situation you're finding yourself in, is not financial. It is human to human, right? The best piece of advice that I can give you at this point is more of a heart to heart than a TA. I'm a trader, Mercury, follow me. I have 13,000 followers on Twitter. I called this top, I called this bottom. It's not that, right? It's human to human. So I'm not Trader Mercury talking to you right now. It's the person behind that, right? And I want to tell you, if you're finding yourself in that position at this point, and it is absolutely an emotional roller coaster, and it requires an emotional discipline that I probably do not even have. If you found yourself in that situation, right here, right now, the question that I would ask myself is, what can I sleep best at night with? What occurrence, right? What event do I play out and reap the consequences or the potential consequences of, and am able to sleep the best at night, at the end of the day, at the end of tomorrow's day, at the end of the next day, the next day, the next week, thereafter. So, whether that means buying more Bitcoin right here, right now, or selling Bitcoin right here, right now, or liquidating all your Bitcoin, or whatever that may mean, right? It doesn't matter. You should weigh out the potential consequence with the potential reward and see and kind of uh, try and give yourself some foresight to what would I be able to stomach the best if it went the complete opposite direction of the approach that I took, right? And you would only kind of put a an emphasis on the scarier side of it. Not, okay, well, if I buy a Bitcoin right here, there's a good chance we bounce 20%, right? You wouldn't be focused on that. And you wouldn't be focused on, okay, if I sell Bitcoin right here, we're going to plummet another 50%, right? And then we're going to find ourselves at whatever, 20K tomorrow. You shouldn't be focused on the reward side of it. You should be focused on, okay, what if I buy Bitcoin right here and we plummet another negative 40%? Would I be able to stomach that? The answer is no. I don't know. Maybe don't buy more Bitcoin right here, right? If you tell yourself, okay, well, if I sell Bitcoin right here and then we pop 20%, and then who knows, maybe it's not just a retest to this range low, and we end up we don't even get a retest of this range low. Maybe we come back 6 hours from now and this entire daily candle is just a wick, and we close back inside the range, and then that's the range deviation, and we go to mid range and we go to range highs, and I sold the exact bottom, and here we are 40% higher 2 weeks later. Would I be able to stomach that? That's the side that I would be more focused on. If everything that we talked about prior to this is the situation that you found yourself in at this point, hopefully, and I say this very genuinely and not from a point of arrogance. I know I come off as arrogant sometimes. There is a humbleness part of side of me that acknowledges my arrogance, right? So, am I really arrogant? Am I really humble? Probably somewhere in between, right? Um, what was my point? No, I went off on a tangent. But I'm not saying it from that point of view, right? I'm saying it genuinely. I genuinely hope that you have found yourself in the same situation I found myself in, taking bliss through the chaos and acknowledging. Sun Tzu has a pretty cool tweet. Wow, Sun Tzu's tweeting from like what the 8th century. Um, he has a pretty cool quote that says, "In the midst of chaos, there is also opportunity." So obviously, I know as a market participant, markets tend to go up. So if I'm reaping the benefit of not participating during downtrends, I'm aware that I will put myself in a position to potentially participate during the next uptrend. So there's absolutely opportunity in the midst of chaos, and you should take some peace in that, right? So hopefully, I say this very genuinely and not from a point of arrogance, not from a haha, I told you so. Look at us, we're geniuses. Nothing like that. I say it, I hope you have found yourself in that position where you are very much acknowledging at some point this is going to bottom. Whether it ends up being right here, right now, and 4K ends up being the macro bottom, and we just kickstart the bull market from right here, and the FUD truly is priced in, or whether we go to 30K and then bounce, or whether we go to 24K, or whether we plummet below the 200 weekly moving averages and go to 14K. it does not matter. Eventually, we will bottom. Markets tend to go up. That's just human nature. There will be an abundance of opportunity. Once again, the phoenix will rise from the ashes and we're going to come out on top. So, if you're in that position, congratulations. It's very difficult to find yourself into that position. You should be rewarding yourself. Uh, now is we love to celebrate and reward ourselves during peak bull market, buying steaks, taking our girlfriends out on nice dates, nice dinners, whatever, splurging, going on vacation, whatever, right? You should be doing that too, right here, right now. If you found yourself in that position, if you are reaping the reward, if you are taking bliss in the midst of the chaos, knowing that opportunity, the abundance of opportunity will find you once again because you consistently put yourself in situations where opportunity potentially can come find you, you should reward yourself. Good fucking job. I'm so absurdly proud of you. This is exactly why we're here. That's my pep talk. Now let's get into actually the TA. The actual TA is we knew that ranges go from range lows to range highs, right? And then the midstream, or the, sorry, I read Maverick's comment. The mid range is kind of the pit stop in between those two extremes, right? So if we're thinking about a fair price for Bitcoin, we can comfortably say 39.5K seems like a pretty fair price for one Bitcoin. And obviously, we don't know that in the midst of this downtrend because for all this price action that I just circled, how do we know that this bounce is any different than this bounce that was no different than this bounce, which ended up being no different than any of these bounces and was also no different than this bounce, right? We don't know that yet. But eventually, the market begins to tell us, right? And it gives us little hints along the way. We start to even speculate that we might be finding a range and a fair value at 39.5K. And then somewhere after like this price action, it becomes very apparent that we have, in fact, found a range and a fair value of probably 39.5K, right? So at this point, we should begin with a range trader's mentality. And all of a sudden, a trend trader's mentality, right? Those pretty green and blue lines become rendered very useless. That's the reality of the situation. You have an edge, you apply it to the market. That's the reason it is an edge. It gets applied to the market more times than not. It ends up working. When it does work, it rewards you much more than when it doesn't. That is edge, right? That is my definition of edge. You can put that in Merck's, dictionary, whatever, right? All of a sudden our edge goes away. We cannot trend trade a sideways market. That's just dumb, right? We're not going to have a fun time. We're going to very much hate our lives. You're going to unsubscribe from SP. You're going to be down on your portfolio. You're not going to be able to afford that nice steak. You're not going to be able to take your girlfriend out for dinner. You might even have to sell some of her shoes or purses or whatever that you bought her during the bull market. You're going to hate me, right? We don't want to trend trade a sideways market. So we start to acknowledge that this is absolutely 100% a range. Sorry about that. Kind of just fat fingered. Um, so we start trading it as if it's a range, right? And we think of this pricing as fair value, just simply meaning every time we come up into these range highs, we should expect mid range, range lows. Why mid range? Because that's the fair price for Bitcoin. Why range lows? Because usually when we have this kind of momentum, we tend to overthrow past the fair price, right? So if we're thinking of fair price, this is fair price. Is anything in life ever this clean? Right? Obviously, it's not the straightest line ever, but is anything in life ever this clean? Absolutely not, right? Anyone with more than 22 years of experience should know that better than I do. What tends to happen is you have these little peaks and troughs, right? You come up off a high, you're euphoric, you just got a promotion, you got a nice raise, and you just bought your new car. And this is okay, somebody put a dent in your car. It was a hit and run. And your boss is telling you, we might need to lay people off. We might have to demote you again. you lose your, girlfriend's relationship, she doesn't want to be with you anymore, whatever. And you have that peak again. Whatever, maybe something nice happened, you graduated, maybe you got to see your kids graduate, whatever. And then maybe a health issue or something. So you have these peaks and troughs. Wherever there's a overthrow, there tends to be an underthrow when you try and find your way back to this middle. That's just kind of how life works. Markets are very much the same way. So we have these peaks and troughs. We have an overthrow and an underthrow. Eventually, we would anticipate that we're going to find ourselves back at this fair value regardless. Whether we overthrow, we should find our way back to this fair price. And eventually, maybe we might underthrow, come back down, and be mispriced towards the downside, meaning Bitcoin is undervalued when it comes down to these range lows. We should come back up to our fair price. That's fair. We probably want to sell fair price. And if we overthrow, great, amazing. The second that we all of a sudden do something outside of the norm, right? And we start to expand away from our fair pricing, we acknowledge it. Why? Because we refuse to sit on our hands complacent like plebs, right? And either just watch in stable coins as the market continues to uptrend. Obviously, it told us it was going to uptrend during this price action on the way up into the range highs. Now, here we're just simply continuing that uptrend, but now above the range highs. So who knows? Maybe we just continue uptrending, right? We have traded at a fair pricing for Bitcoin around 39.5K for about 3 months at this point. And I absolutely do not want to come in and say, nope, we're just going to deviate. The past 3 months meant absolutely nothing. We're not repricing Bitcoin. Bitcoin isn't undervalued. We're just going to find our way back into the fair pricing, right? We're still priced at 39.5K. That's still a fair value for Bitcoin. That is a loser's mindset, right? That is exactly how you sit on your hands, complacent, like a pleb, either in stables, completely missing out on what may be a full fledged bull market, right? Maybe it's just a push up into this 200 daily MA. You find a top and then you do deviate back in. But maybe you just simply continue that uptrend into the next resistance level, or maybe the next one, or maybe the next one after that, right? And maybe you go into price discovery. Maybe plan B is not an idiot and his stock to flow model really is going to see $120,000 Bitcoin by, I don't know, whatever, tomorrow. Maybe Bitcoin does become the global reserve currency for the entire world and it goes to $1 million in hyper Bitcoinization or whatever, right? I don't care how exaggerated you want it to be. You could tell me that hyper Bitcoinization and we're going to become, the global reserve currency. You could also tell me there's a koala stuck in a tree somewhere in Australia and that's bullish to you. And I would believe you either way. I don't care, right? Why? I do not, I absolutely refuse to sit on my hands complacent like a pleb, either shorting or in stables when we are uptrending and we have finally collectively agreed as a market participant, whether you like it or not, right? Whether you realize it or not, that Bitcoin is no longer fairly priced at 39.5K and it needs to be higher, right? 39.5K is a mispricing and that is undervalued. Did that work out? Absolutely not, right? We topped, we re entered the range, and all the people that told us we were going to deviate back inside the range, here they come, bark, bark, right? They bark at the wind. Here's my treat. I told you so. I told you so. Where's my treat? Give me my treat. I told you we were going to deviate back inside. They told you that here. They told you that here. They told you that here too, and there, and there, and there. Finally, they were right. Is that the person we want to be? Absolutely not. Whereas we're obviously bullish at the exact top. The same mentality that has us bullish at the exact top is the same mentality that has us bullish on the way up into this top occurring in the first place. So we don't even get to be bullish at the top without being bullish on the way up first, right? We don't even get the chance to be an idiot bull posting at the top because we wouldn't have been bullish on the way up in the first place. Obviously, we want to benefit. That is exactly how we benefited, right? Only after a very trivial drop in comparison to the grand scheme of things. Remember, we are trading a 30% range here. After about -5, -6%, you can come in and you can tell me, in hindsight, this is in fact a deviation. It is likely to be a macro top. In hindsight, right? And any guard dog that warned you here, even though they warned you on the way up here and there and there and here and there, you can finally go and give them a treat if you so desire. This is where we flip bearish. This is where we just simply say we have done something outside of the norm only to resume the norm. What is the norm in range trading? We're probably going to head to mid range. We'll probably head to range lows too. That's just how ranges work, right? That's how life works, peaks and troughs. We tend to find our way back to this midpoint though. We got to the midpoint. Look at that. We bounced. Oh my God, that's the bottom, right? The same people telling us we're going to deviate back inside. We're going to deviate back inside. That's the bottom, 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 bottom. Buy the dip. Have fun staying poor. Have you seen this daily candle? 5% on the daily. We saw the FOMC meeting and it was so bullish. We wicked on the daily. That's a higher high. That's a, whatever. We SFP'd the lows. Whales are manipulating. People are accumulating. The FUD is priced in. Bottom is in. Have fun staying poor. Only for us to find our way back at range lows. It is the winner's mindset. So, what is the winner's mindset here? Now that we're back at range lows, the mindset should have been, and it was, we will either hold on to this range, and if we do, what can we say? It's just the range continuing to range, right? It's just the market telling us that, you know what? In fact, we are still fairly pricing Bitcoin at around 30 or 40K. And even if you don't like it as a range and you would rather me portray it in a different way or shape or form, the TA is arbitrary. I don't care what you're using to tell me that Bitcoin is priced at 30 or 40K fairly, right? That is totally arbitrary. The mindset behind that is what makes you a winner. So if we're using VWAP, or if we want to use a range, or if we want to use Ichimoku, or if we want to use 4-hour 200 moving averages, or whatever the hell else you want to use, each and every single person watching this stream right now should have been able to tell me at least sometime in the past 2 months, right, bar this price action, that Bitcoin is fairly priced around this region. When we finally decide that we're no longer fairly priced at this region and the market collectively agrees, whether we like it or not, whether we know it or not, that Bitcoin is either overvalued at 40K or undervalued at 40K, we do not fight it. We didn't just spend the past 4 months trading sideways at 40K for no damn reason. We were trying to establish a value, a fair pricing. All of a sudden, even though it is the same exact mentality that has us bearish at this exact top, right? It is the same mentality that had us flip bearish here. And it's the same mentality that had us bullish on the way up into this top being created in the first place. Therefore, it is a winner's mentality because we have applied it and we've won consistently, time and time again, since I've taken over these live streams in August of 2020. I'm not going to stray away from it now. I refuse to. It continues to make me consistently profitable, whether I'm right or I'm adjusting. In my mindset, and you guys are going to laugh at me, and you've heard me say this before, I'm never right or wrong. Mercury, how are you never right or wrong? That's such an arrogant thing to say. So, are you telling me that you just put yourself in a situation where you're always potentially right? Abso-fucking-lutely. Why wouldn't I want to do that? Why would I put myself in a situation where I need, right? I require one outcome to occur or else I am ruined. What's the point in that? Maybe if you're an 18-year-old kid living with mommy and daddy, then you can afford to put yourself in that position, and reap the reward of just going balls to the wall risk. You don't give a shit. You're either right and you're a multimillionaire and you're set for the rest of your life and you can retire forever at 18, or you get over it and you build it back, right? Most of us are not in that position. I myself am not even in that position. There's no point for me to want to be in that position. So in my head, I am either going to continue being right here, just the same way I was right on the way up into here, or I'm forced to adjust. This is where we adjust. We have continued to be right for all of this price action. I will either continue to be right moving forward, or I will be forced to adjust. What will the new analysis be in the event that we deviate back inside the range? Oh, guys, hey, we applied the winner's mindset here, and just like it didn't work this time around, it didn't work this time either. Here we are deviating back inside the range, and so in hindsight, that's probably the bottom, and we missed out on. Let's go from the exact bottom, right? We don't have crystal balls. Sorry, we do have crystal balls, and we missed out on 11%, right? We missed out on 11% because we don't have a crystal ball and we can't foresee the exact future and buy the Pico bottom with our entire net worth. So we missed out on 11%. And now, in hindsight, after that 11%, we can comfortably come in and say, okay, we're showing strength again. Bitcoin is probably still fairly valued at 39.3K. And we are, in fact, going to continue this push upwards into mid range, into range highs. So we sacrifice this 11% because we have a crystal ball. We could have called the Pico bottom and bought Bitcoin with our entire net worth, but instead we didn't, and we waited 11% higher to then come in and say, "Oh wait, by the way, this time is different. We are showing strength. It is a bigger bounce, potentially a macro bottom, probably at minimum a local bottom, right?" And here we go. Now we're bullish. And that's just simply, oh, we continued the range, right? Deviation is you did something outside of the norm only to continue the norm. So, what would a deviation imply here? Well, you did something outside of the norm only to resume the norm. What is the norm in range trading? Mid range, range highs. That's it. What's the appeal? What's the appeal to want to fight this when, per the context of the situation, when's the last time that we traded sideways for 4 months? I mean, you tell me, right? Can you remember the last time we traded sideways for 4 months? Most of you probably didn't even trade crypto at that time. The last time that we went sideways for 4 months, and I will portray it in the shape of VWAP. So all I'm doing is taking my anchored VWAP, my anchored volume weighted average price, and it's going to tell me what was the volume weighted average price from November 20th of 2018 to April 1st of 2019. The volume weighted average price, more or less, for that entire time period was 3.8K. We traded relatively around 3.8K for 128 days, right? So every time we found our way below 3.8K, the market said, no, 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 no. Bitcoin is undervalued. It should be priced at 3.8. We got our mean reversion, right? We got a little bit of overthrow. We saw the market trade at 4.2. And then the market said, no, 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 3.8, right? That's what we agreed on. So we come back to 3.8. We go a little bit below. The market says, no, 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 3.8, 3.8, 3.8, 3.8. What happened when the market collectively agreed, whether they knew it or not, right? Everyone trading this price action, whether they like it or not, whether they know it or not, what happened when they all collectively agreed 3.8K is no longer a fair price for Bitcoin? It needs to be repriced higher. 230%, right? In how long? 3 months. Basically a bull market, right? This is a mini bull market. What happened when we even came close to trading around 4 months at what we're labeling as a fair value? Or the next time that we did that, right? And again, this should just be reiterating everything we said in Friday's stream. It should just kind of be uh, more relevant this time around. The market traded around, we'll just say 11K for about 3 months. What happened when the market collectively agreed that 11K is not really a fair price for Bitcoin? It needs to be lower. Again, we're not even going from fair price. We're not going to go from the top. We'll go from after it becomes blatantly obvious that we're no longer fairly trading around 11K. So we'll go around somewhere around here, right? Negative 30%. Pretty drastic. Pretty drastic, especially for only 3 months. Negative 30%. What happened the next time we even came close to trading around the same kind of time period, exaggerated period of time, and finding and establishing a fair value? 2021 bull market, right? We'll go from like the 10th of February to what is this? May 15th. So for about 3 months, once again, right? And the most parallel to today's is, of course, going to be that 2018 one because today's fair price was more along the lines of 4 months. 2018, it was 4 months, right? So what happened back here? 3 months. We traded around a fair value of like 52, 53K. Whether we knew it at the time, whether we liked it or not, whether we knew it or not, we're always going to see our way above 52K and then see our way back into it and then see our way back below it and then see our way back into it and then slightly above it, but then back into it and then back above it, but then back into it, but then back below it and then back into it and back above it, but then back into it and back below it. What happened when we finally decided Bitcoin is no longer fairly priced at 52K? I'm sure most of you remember this time period, right? And really, I mean, we could just kind of go from here, right? A week. It took 1 week, negative 40%. Hopefully, everyone sees the point I'm trying to make. We can do it again and regurgitate the same kind of information and really beat the dead horse here to make sure that everyone's sponge of a brain absorbs this the way I hope it does and apply the exact same kind of way of thinking to this time period as well. Fair pricing, 37, 35, 36K, right? So we'll say like 36, fair price. Go below it, above it, but we're going to find our way back around 36. What happened when the market collectively agreed 36K is no longer a fair price for Bitcoin? 40% move in basically a month and a half, right? This is the point. When we establish a fair value for something exaggerated, right? A very lengthy period of time, like 4 months, which really, if we want to go back in the past 4 years, we've only done that once. It's very rare. When we finally establish that fair value and then we break away from that fair value, we don't fight it. I do not care if this ends up being a deviation any more than I didn't care if this ended up being a deviation. It is absolutely 100% the winner's mindset. Do not let anyone tell you that there's not a winner's and a loser's mindset in markets. There 100% is. And then from there, you get to decide how you portray and as a human digest that information to approach with the winner's mindset. I chose a very simplistic method, 4 hour 200s, market structure, random gray boxes, right? That may or may not be alpha, a simple fundamental understanding of range trading, X, Y, and Z, right? Whatever. If you want to use Ichimoku, Gan theory, Elliott wave, I don't give two shits, right? I really could not care less. It's all vanity at the end of the day. The mindset is what matters. You can have all the knowledge in the world. And if we're being completely honest, the most knowledgeable technical analysis person that I know, and that's not even a real sentence. That sentence didn't even make sense. Uh, the most knowledgeable person on the subject of technical analysis that I know doesn't know how to trade. So instead, they teach technical analysis to people so that they can go and trade. That is the reality of the situation. The best traders that I know, truthfully, don't even use technical analysis. And yet, the best technical analysis, right? The most informative, he's just a book of knowledge. You can go to him and ask him whatever fucking question. I don't care if it's harmonics, Elliott wave, Gone theory, right? Patterns, trend lines, volume. I don't care what it is. He knows it all, right? He's just a fucking dictionary, just like whatever, turn the page in his book of the mind, right? And he can tell you whatever you need to know. Does not know how to trade profitably. It is the absolute truth. The mindset after the if it's all said and done is 10 times more important than something as arbitrary as look at this trend line, look at this box, this called the bottom. I bought here because of X, Y, and Z. I bought here because of Gone theory, Fibonacci retracement, whatever, right? It is all just vanity. A mindset makes you a winner. This is the winner's mindset. Please apply it moving forward, right? If you have not applied it, then hopefully you go back to the start of this live stream where I kind of had a heart to heart with everybody, hopefully unnecessarily, right? Hopefully everybody heard that heart to heart and was like, Merc, we don't need this. We've been following you. We're sitting in cash. We're ready to buy the dip. We want to see the capitulation. Send this to zero. I'm ready. We're good to go. No one's in this state. If that is you, then refer back to that. And that's where the heart to heart comes in. I don't know what I would do in this situation. The only thing I can tell you is at this point, I would be asking myself, what can I sleep best with at night? And that's the honest truth. I have absolutely been in that situation before. The only reason I'm able to speak about it and hit that nail on the head so hard is because I've been there before. There is absolutely a light at the end of that tunnel. Eventually, you find yourself on the right side of the next wave. And when it crashes, you just ride the next wave, right? The tide goes in, it comes back out. And you will absolutely, as long as you remember these feelings, you remember the winner's mindset, you apply it, you take comfort in your system, you acknowledge risk management, you acknowledge reward, probabilities, all of these things that we regurgitate through these live streams. You continue to apply it, you understand it, and you take this as a learning kind of event, then you will find yourself on the wave when it's going up and off the wave when it's crashing. So that is my heart to heart. That's the honest truth. I'm not just saying that, to sugarcoat it, make it sound good, keep you here. None of that. Right. So I want to give everybody a minute or two to digest everything that was just said, really take it in, and then we'll keep going. Also, I need to grab some more water, so I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Hopefully, everybody digested everything that we just said. I know it was a lot. Um, Maverick said something good here. So he says on Friday's stream when I asked you about macro lows for alts. Hopefully, everybody watched Friday's stream. If you're watching this now, I would hope you watched Friday too. And he said, I thought those prices would come like months from now, not 2 days later. And that, my friend, is thinking logarithmically, right? There is no cheap or expensive in markets. It's just fair pricing. So um, everything is accelerated to the upside, and just as much so as the downside. You need to be able to think logarithmically. The best case of this is Luna. Remember when we rode Luna's uptrend? Do you remember when I puked 2 bottom calls on Luna? You remember when we called, hey, this time's different. That looks really good. And then it did 1x, right? Do you remember that? And then do you remember when we said, hey, that's not pretty. Maybe stop paying attention to Luna. If I would have told you here, we're going to get $77 Luna again, you would have laughed at me. Merc, you think that we're going to get negative 20% on Luna? But Do Kwon just tweeted, right? But the bull market is back because of Luna, Merc. What are you talking about? But UST is seeing 20% APY, Merc. If I told you, not only do I think that we'll get $77 Luna, but hey, below $77 Luna, we'll probably get $60 Luna. But Merc, Do Kwon, but this, but that, right? And if I told you below $59 Luna, I'm expecting $45 Luna. But Merc, right? We're already halfway there. So, in the grand scheme of things, we've already avoided negative 46%. Seems like a winner's mindset to me, right? And guess what? I was bullish at the top. You could ask me my thoughts on Luna right here. And I'm almost positive. Sorry, excuse me. I'm almost positive that at least one of you did, right? Luna was the talk of the town for all this price action. We charted Luna day in, day out, every single stream. A lot of you requested it in on demand TA even when we weren't streaming. We were on top of Luna prior to it really ramping up. We were on top of Luna as it was at each and every single one of these all-time highs. Guess what? I am so fucking bullish on Luna right here, right? I would have told you higher highs, higher lows, bears are dumb, price discovery, new all time highs. There is absolutely no more reason to want to short Luna or think that it's topped here than there was here or here or any of here or here or here, here or here. You can't give me an extra argument here than you could have given me for any of this price action. So Merck is bullish at the exact top of Luna. How is he profitable? Why is he streaming to me right now? He was bullish at the top. Why why does he even have a job? Because the same mentality that had me bullish at the top is the same mentality that ensured every time you ask me for an analysis on Luna, I'm bullish on it for this entire price action on the way up into the top. And this is where we call it quits. And we're already down negative 40, negative 46%, and it's been 1 month. 1 month. Right? We want to think logarithmically. It is the winner's mindset. Edmund says, can we look at KNC, Luna, Sol, AVAX, near? Um, Also, Maverick said, both of you guys had the same question here. He says, if you're buying spot, next logical area is 30K or 28K. To answer both of your questions, a little bit of both. So I'm not thinking of this region as two separate levels. Obviously, if we go out to the weekly, then this is a weekly demand zone, right? Hopefully, I think in Friday's stream, we kind of talked about this as well. So if we're talking about weekly zone, all that means is when we zoom out to the weekly, we can physically see this zone getting tested on the weekly chart. That's it. That's all it means. So we see the tests. We see the test. It got tested here, bounce. Nearly got tested here, still bounce. Tested, tested. I would assume if we come into this zone again, we're probably going to use it as support. So if we come into the zone and bounce, don't be surprised, right? It's weekly support. Merc, do I buy 28K or do I buy 30K? Well, truthfully, this is only 3% and it's a weekly demand zone. Typically, weekly demand zones can be anywhere between, I don't know, 3 to 5 to sometimes even 8%. I don't think it should really go too much farther than that, right? If you haven't, let's see, well, I mean, I guess it really depends on what piece of price action you're trading at. Obviously, a gray box up here is going to be bigger. 8% gray box up here is going to be bigger than 8% gray box down here. But regardless, right? I don't think we want to have a gray box like that and just saying, oh, well, somewhere in this region, that's probably demand. That's not really actionable. So, is it proper TA? You could argue it, sure, but is it actionable? No. So, at that point, we're starting to become my friend who is just knowledgeable on TA but can't trade for shit, right? So, the way I'm thinking about it is, okay, is 30K where we kind of want to like look to buy the dip if I'm just a investor, right, with the four O's at the end of it. Um, if I'm that and I just want to buy Bitcoin spot, I don't really care. I have a 5 to 10 to 20 year outlook. I want my kids to own Bitcoin, and I'm okay with buying Bitcoin anywhere in the 30K range. That sounds good to me. Then yeah, 30K, maybe ladder some bids at like 29, maybe a little bit more at low 29s, maybe a little bit more at like 28, right? So I mean, this general zone seems like a pretty good area to just buy support, just simply because it's support, right? If you're buying this zone by via like futures or perps, right? You're longing, you're hoping and praying for an immediate 10% bounce. You want to buy the dip and be the genius. You want to step in front of the train. You want to catch the knife. And if you don't catch that knife and it doesn't work out, you're fucked. Then I have news for you. You're a loser, right? I'm sorry, but that's the loser's mindset. You're probably going to lose, even if you benefit this time around and you end up being right. You're probably going to end up screwing yourself over somehow, some way, giving it back. And, there's going to come a time where we make our way down into a weekly demand zone and don't immediately bounce from it. Whether that means wicking down a little bit further below it and then bouncing, or whether that means we just continue to bleed right through, right? So, if you want to buy 30 to 29 to 28K just simply because it's a support zone, right? It's macro support. And if your dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin monthly or yearly, or you want, just a bigger investor position, you want to move some into your offline wallet and keep it there for the next 5 years or 10 years or whatever, or, your kid's 18th birthday that is not even born yet, then absolutely 30K makes sense. 29K just makes the same amount, the same exact amount of sense. So does 28. So I would kind of just ladder uh, throughout that region, but don't try and precise it, right? Don't try and pinpoint it and be the genius. So that obviously comes with some pretty nice reward if you jump in, you manage to catch the bottom, you buy the weekly demand zone, we get an immediate 5, 10, 15, 20% bounce. And then truthfully, we could do all that and potentially still be bearish on the weekly, right? So you could do all that, come in, you're a genius. Oh my God, congratulations. And then, you reward massively. But there's, of course, the risk. You're stepping in front of a train. Yes, support is support, but we're downtrending into support. So the support is intended to break, just like every other support broke on the way into this one. So keep that in mind, right? Maybe don't go all in. If you have the investor mentality, maybe you don't want to invest all at 30K. Maybe dip your toes in a little bit and then look for something like the 200 weekly EMA and then dip your toes in a little bit more. And then if we come down to the 200 weekly MA, dip your toes in a little bit more. And then so that's how I would approach it, and that's very much how I'm going to be approaching it. I'm not even interested in really owning Bitcoin at all. Obviously, I have a offline ledger that I haven't really touched in the past 5 years, and that continues to be true. And Jacob continues to pay me a lot of my salary in Bitcoin. So, I mean, I'm down just as much as you guys. I don't like this any more than you do, but for my trader account, obviously I don't want to be exposed to the downtrend. So on a 5 to 10 to 20 year outlook, I don't really give a shit, whether we're trading at 30 or 60 because I wasn't going to sell anyways. And I will continue to add more to that. And I will continue to add more to that at places where it makes sense to want to add more to that. But I'm not going to anticipate being a genius by any means. That's not really my strength. And true knowledge is in knowing that you know nothing. And when it comes to calling bottoms and being a genius, I know absolutely nothing. So I would rely much more on Defswo and JC and Martian on that. So, all right. So I think that kind of answers the question. And then hopefully that answers any add-on questions. Hey, if we break down below 30K, where are you looking to buy? 200 weekly EMA, 200 weekly MA, and then truthfully, below there, it's not looking too hot, right? Next weekly demand zone is all the way down at like 12K. So again, if we go down to 12K, guess who's going to be buying the dip and dipping their toes in a little bit more? Investor Mercury, right? I'm not a trader Mercury right now. I'm investor Mercury and stablecoin Mercury. So hopefully, I know that's maybe made some of you laugh. I hope it did, but that is the honest truth. I will always be 100% real with you guys. So KNC USDT, that's what Edmund wants. Uh, I think it's very valid to call this a weekly demand zone. I think previously I was referring it to it as a daily, but this is more along the lines of a weekly zone. So if you wanted to make this a little bit fatter so your brain can kind of digest it better, go for it, right? Uh, it's very valid. It's 100% justifiable. So along with this weekly demand zone, because you traded along it for what, a year, consistently using it as resistance and sometimes support when you traded above it, right? Support, support, support. And each and every other time it was obvious resistance. And not only can we see that on the daily, we can even see it on the weekly. So therefore, it is a weekly demand zone. As confluence to that, you also have these 200 daily moving averages. So if you were ever going to buy the absolute utmost, capitulation, plummet of a bull market that is still, when you zoom out on something like the weekly or the monthly, this is still technically an uptrend on like the weekly or the monthly, right? On the monthly, it looks like this. On the weekly, it looks like this. Right. So if you were ever going to buy that dip and then reap the reward for the next couple months, maybe in the next year, whatever, who knows, maybe the next 5 years, then this is your zone. As soon as we lose this zone, yikes. Right? Big yikes. What is the implication of range trading? Range lows, mid-range, range highs, mid-range, range lows. What do we expect when we break out of the range? Well, we're probably going to expand away from the range, right? We're probably going to continue to go in that same direction, whether that means into this gray box, maybe a midterm resistance somewhere in between that gray box, maybe above the gray box and into all-time highs. Maybe KNC gets priced at $100 a month from now, right? That's the expectation, and guess what? That's exactly what we did, right? That's like a 70 or 80% push upwards. Oh, wait, no. What am I talking about? 130%, and then it's like 70% from this zone. Yeah. So massive move, right? 140% in what, like a month? Absolutely massive move. We lose each and every single trend along the way that got us to this point in the first place. Of course, we are just as bullish at this top as we were right here, right? And obviously, before we broke out above this range and broke out above the weekly supply zone and started to uptrend on the weekly, of course, we were also uptrending on all the lower time frame price action prior to that, right? So the snowball kind of starts to build somewhere down here. It becomes a bigger snowball. You kind of just anticipate range lows to range highs, and eventually becomes a full fledged snowman. So since that snowman forms, 140% move, we lose each and every single trend, right? So we lose something like hourly 200s, lose those. Okay, 4 hour 200s, nope, lost those. So now we're assuming, okay, level to level. And then if we lose this level, what was the next analysis? We're probably going to come to the next level. So we're already down around 50 or 60% since we stopped fully justifying that we're going to continue going upwards into more price discovery. And we started to build a snowball of weakness, right? Our hourly starts to break down, and then that allows for a deeper pullback into our 4 hour trend. Let's go and show this our 4 hour trend. We said 4 hour 200s. Watch out for those. We said hourly trend. That's more relevant for the current price action, right? So once this breaks, we can anticipate a move into our 4 hour 200s. Here, right? Anticipate a move into our 4 hour 200s. If our 4 hour 200s break, we're probably going to come into here. If that breaks, we'll go into the next one. If that breaks, we'll go into the next one. Repeat that process over and over and over and over again, right? So as as of right now, the way I see it is if you are an investor in KNC, maybe you believe in the fundamentals, maybe whatever, you just want some altcoin exposure, you want to put risk on the market, because you are bullish for whatever reason, or maybe you just want to hedge your lack of exposure with some exposure, something that might start to uptrend again. And therefore, if this does end up somehow being the bottom, then you're not missing out, right? You can kind of hedge the FOMO and reap some reward and actually financially benefit. The risk is, of course, the same downtrend that started here on the hourly that snowballed its way on the 4 hour, and then at that point became a full fledged snowman of weakness. Do not pay attention to KNC anymore. We're probably just going to continue downtrending from one level into the next, just simply continues to downtrend from one level into the next, right? If I tell you, and again, this is going back to Maverick's point on Friday's stream, if I tell you, hey, losing the 4 hour 200s makes me think we go into this zone again, you would have said, Merc, negative 17%. KNC seems pretty, cheap right now, right? I mean, it just went on a 140% run. Like everyone is buying this thing. Like whales are accumulating. And then Merc, wait, we lose that zone and you think that we're going to pull back another negative 35%? What do you mean? Whales are obviously accumulating this. Have you seen the fundamentals? Have you seen this? Have you seen that? And to me, it's just words, right? And here we are, literally 2 days later, and we've already went down negative 60%. So that's the point, right? It is the winner's mindset. So we will either continue to be right or we need to adjust, right? And how drastic we need to adjust depends on how much strength do we begin to re-show all over again. Is it still going to be, okay, we're just bouncing from support, we're not doing anything crazy here, right? And then we're going to smack our face on whatever we've been trending along, maybe like 15-minute 200s, and just continue downtrending? Or are we going to reclaim the 15-minute 200s and then push up into the hourly 200s? And then that's where we're going to smack our face and crush the snowball and then continue downtrending. Or are we going to reclaim the hourly 200s and see a bigger push up into this zone and then the 4 hour 200s? And that's where we're going to smack our face and continue the downtrend, right? Or do we also reclaim the 4 hour 200s? And now all of a sudden, that was the macro bottom on the weekly time frame, and we have snowballed our way into a very bullish environment for KNC again. And now at this point, it becomes higher highs, higher lows. We are uptrending. Bears are dumb. We're probably going to go to price discovery all over again. Just the same way that we anticipated for all this price action, right? Including the exact top. So I am bullish at tops. I am bearish at bottoms. And guess what? We're printing generational wealth on the 80% of the price action in between that top and bottom. And I will continue to be bullish at tops and bearish at bottoms. And when I say that, I literally tweeted that, and somebody said, "Merc, did you mistype? I mean, did you mean to say that?" Absolutely, yeah. When I say that at first glance, you're like, "What the hell? What does he even mean?" Again, why is he streaming to me? How is this guy getting paid right now? Why does Jacob employ him? And we're printing wealth in the price action that matters, refusing to be the guard dog barking at the wind at each and every single one of these tops, right? And then on the way down, bottoms. So, yes, we're at macro support, and I took 15 minutes to tell you we're at macro support, but we're still downtrending. So, you know, there's risk reward that comes with that. So, depending on what you want to do with that information is up to you. By the way, what are we locally trending along? And it is the 15-minute 200s. Pretty cool. It's like I can visualize the trend at this point because I've been using the system for like 3 years now. So, look for that snowball to form. And if it does, I would be much more confident that this zone is probably going to give you a more significant bounce, more than what it already gave you, right? And if we can't even reclaim this local trend, yeah, there's no reason for us to find support here any more than we would have found support here or at those 4 hour 200s or whatever. Hawkeye says the volume weighted average price indicator you showed, is it a free indicator on TView? If yes, who made it? It is not actually an indicator. So it is just yeah, so if you go to prediction and measurement tools, long position, short position, all that stuff, it's right here at the bottom. Fixed range, or no, wait. No, that's fixed range volume profile. What am I talking about? Wait, where is it? I think it's trend lines. Yeah. Here it is. Trend lines, horizontal lines, all that stuff, parallel channels. It's all the way at the bottom, anchored VWAP. So yes, it is free. All right, next we want to take a look at Luna. We already kind of glanced at this and said, hey, this is obviously downtrending, and it looks ugly, and we kind of knew that it looked ugly. Only real analysis that I can give you additional to everything that we said, Edmund, is I would just look for a push into this zone again. And if we don't end up getting a push into that zone, right? So here's the thing. Obviously, I'm going into tangents because my brain likes to kind of skip and go on rants and whatever. But the thing is, when you're trading an uptrend, your fear should be, okay, maybe I'm taking profit too soon, and maybe my entry zone, like when we're acknowledging the 3 hour 200s for all of this price action, right? So when Martian sent out, and this is exactly what happened, by the way, Martian sends out a long trade to buy Luna at $76. And I, as Trader Mercury, want to buy Luna at $70. Me and Martian both fully understand that Luna is uptrending. So, what do you think my worst fear during this downtrend, right? Because it is a downtrend, it's all lower highs, lower lows. What do you think my worst fear is right here? I'm not going to get my bids, right? I'm not going to get filled. I'm not going to get my entry even tapped initially to trade the overall uptrend. We're just going to continue uptrending prior to that. And I'm going to, sit on my hands and get left behind like a pleb, right? That's where FOMO is even somewhat justifiable, even though if you fully understand the abundance of opportunity that is the market, FOMO is never justifiable, right? But that is my biggest fear at that point is that I'm not going to get my bids. And then guess what? Come back 2 days, 3 days later, I didn't get my bids. Wow, that sucks, right? Okay, now I'm forced to sit on my hands like a pleb again and hope and pray that we do dip once again into the area where I'm looking to buy so that I can finally participate in the uptrend that is Luna. And then we finally dip into that zone, right? The key word there is we dip, right? We dip into the zone with an overall uptrend. When you're trading this price action, you're not trading a dip anymore. You're not buying the dip, right? BTFD, have fun staying poor if you don't buy the dip. Excuse me, sir. It's no longer a dip anymore, right? It should take you all of about 4 seconds to tell me this is a downtrend. And you should have been able to tell me that since anywhere around here, right? We have been able to say that since about here. We have only continued to be right since here. Starting here, we have continued to be right because the market has not forced us to adjust into thinking that it's not just a downtrend anymore. It is going to be a dip. We are going to continue uptrend. We are actually doing something meaningful and significant, and Luna does need to be priced higher, and Do Kwon is a genius, right? There's no justification for that at the moment. This is not a dip. This is a downtrend. When you're trading dips, your worst fear, even though hopefully, if you do have a good amount of emotional discipline, you've been doing this long enough, you don't have any fears. But your worst fear should be I might not even get my entry. Here, your worst fear is totally opposite. Your worst fear is shit, man. I might get my entry and then some. Right? I want to buy $60 Luna. Shit, I might buy $60 Luna and it just continues dying. Look what happened. We bought $60 Luna. I mean, we didn't actually buy it, but you see what I'm saying, right? We tap $60. Everyone's oh, I'm a genius. Haha, I told you so. Mercury's gray box truly is alpha. That guy's a genius. I need to follow every single thing that he does. Here we are, bouncing 12%. Haha, I told you so. V reversal. Have fun staying poor. Do Kwon's a genius. And then we melt straight through that demand zone, right? That should be the fear is that you will get your entry and then some. So when I see Luna break down below $60, what do you think I expect? At minimum, $45. Why? Because the way that I portray things visually on the chart so that my puny sponge of a brain can digest it and be able to take action off of it is I like to draw random gray boxes and say, that's support, that's support, that's support. So when we break though below this support, we're probably just going to head to the next one. If to you, the way that your brain absorbs it and portrays it as actionable information is via Ichimoku, Fibonacci, whatever. I don't really care. Again, it is totally arbitrary. You just need to be able to understand at the end of the day, this is a downtrend. I'm probably going to get my dip, right? Because it's not a dip. I'm probably going to get my entry and then some. And if my entry ends up seeing a bounce because I classified that as support and Mercury's gray box ends up being alpha and we see a 12 or 13% relief bounce, cool, right? That's it. There's no other real analysis to make. Other than that, you would look for the downtrend and you would look to see when can we no longer justify that this is a downtrend on even a somewhat significant time frame for even a somewhat significant scale. So something like the hourly is of course still not really actionable because here are the hourly 200s all the way up here per my system. So basically all I'm telling you is, hey, we can bounce from current price 50% into the hourly 200s, smack our face on them, still be downtrending, and we're still bearish. You just missed 50%, right? Obviously, that's not a good kind of analysis, right? That kind of sucks. So we need to zoom in further. We need to find something more relevant. We'll go to the 30-minute. Okay, the 30-minute isn't really helping us because it's not really all that well respected. We're not really seeing anything that the hourly didn't already tell us, right? That's not helping us at all whatsoever. For the 15-minute. Okay, the 15 minutes a little bit better, but has it been relevant for the past day or two or three? No. So it again, it's telling us a little bit more, but it's not telling us enough because again, we can bounce 27% and still be bearish and still be looking for further downtrend. We just missed out on 27%. We don't want to miss out on 27%. So then we go look at the next one. Okay, now we're looking at the 5-minute. Has this been relevant? And I would say, yeah, absolutely it has. And the fact that we have only expanded further only makes it more relevant. So now these 5-minute 200s are going to catch up very quickly. And eventually, if we manage to bounce, we might reclaim them somewhere around here, right? So maybe around 50, 56, somewhere in that zone. Now, from there, we can play the relief bounce back into this random gray box, back into the 15-minute 200s, right? And then hopefully higher than there, we reclaim those as well into something like the hourly 200s. And then maybe if we reclaim the hourly 200s, we'll go on to test the 3-hour 200s again because that's what we like to see on Luna, right? That's what we've been using as the overall trend. And we continue to scale this mindset over and over and over again so that we can play the white spaces in between on the way up into whatever the next resistance is. Hopefully, participating in the relief bounces and negating a lot of the FOMO on the way up in the event that this does end up being some sort of macro bottom and we snowball our way back into full-fledged strength across literally every single time frame, right? That is the hope. That is exactly what you should strive for. So it all kind of stems behind negating emotions and giving yourself the best chances in terms of probabilities. If we want to break down probabilities, we can't really break it down. Guys, I know I'm really going off on a tangent, but all this stuff is what I deem very relevant. So please bear with me. Uh, we can't really break down probabilities in statistical terms. And what I mean by that is when you have something like blackjack or 21, whatever you call it, um, we can count cards, assuming a 52 card deck. And let's say, there's 6 face cards on the table because we're playing with a bunch of people. And maybe the dealer's showing a face card. If we're smart enough, which I'm not, but if you are, you can absolutely start to whittle down the statistical probability and give yourself a pretty good range of what are the chances of another face card coming up. And therefore, the pretty good range of a probability of each and every card potentially coming up. So you can start to really give yourself a tangible and statistical, right, a fact of a data set to base probabilities off of. Obviously, in trading, we don't really have that luxury. So we have to perceive the probabilities. So the way that I think about it, and the way that I always, or the reason I always teach it as like a snowball, and then it builds, right? It builds its way up. When you get to that snowman, that is the bulk. That is the best you can possibly get, right? The reason that I teach it that way is because if we're downtrending on the weekly, the daily, the 4 hour, the hourly, the 15-minute, the 5 minute, the 1 minute. What's the probability that we bounce to $60 anytime soon? We would perceive it to be extremely low, right? Extremely low. Why? Because literally every single time frame is downtrending. If we were ever going to go to $60, we would at minimum have to start uptrending on even the 1 minute. So if our 1 minute starts to uptrend, what's the probability that we come up and test the 5 minute trend? Probably still extremely low, but better than prior, right? Better than what we said before when literally everything is downtrending. And then if the 5 minute starts to uptrend, if we were ever going to see the 15-minute trend tested, you have to see the 5 minute start to uptrend prior to that. You have to see it. That's not me, guaranteeing things. That's just logic, right? You can't see the 15-minute uptrend without the 5 minute starting to uptrend before that. So, what are the chances that the 15-minute starts to uptrend? A little bit higher, right? And then what are the chances the hourly starts to uptrend if the 15-minute is uptrending? A little bit higher. And it starts to snowball its way. And that is simply probabilities in markets. So, when we do one thing, that opens the door for the next thing to happen, and we perceive that to be a higher probability. So this is exactly how I'm approaching things when I'm looking for like relief bounces on things that are down very, very exaggerated percentages, -60% in the past couple days. That is absurd. Yes, the relief bounce is likely to be massive when it happens. I don't know when it happens. I wouldn't have told you that it's going to happen any more at 60 than I can tell you that it would happen right now, than any more than it would might happen at 45, or maybe it doesn't happen until 20, or maybe it never happens until 2, right? Or maybe potentially it never happens at all, right? But you would think that when the relief bounce comes, it's probably going to be pretty massive. And this is exactly how you would go about approaching and trying to trade that relief bounce. Hopefully that makes sense. So we have a couple more. We have Soul, AVAX, and Near. Truthfully, I think I'm just going to cap it at that, and that might be just the end of our stream. Today has been, or today's live stream. Truthfully, I'm not very emotional right now. I mean, am sitting very comfortably in the market, but I'm trying to get some pretty key points across to everybody, and I really am uh, creating like a vulnerability right now where I'm very much stepping down from my pedestal of arrogance to kind of meet everybody on the situation that they might be finding themselves in. I'm trying to get, very emotional and get these points across so everyone is on the same page. Not because I see myself as better than you, but just because I have been there before and it fucking sucks. And I want you to understand, I know it fucking sucks. We can get through it, right? I want you to get through it. I want you to have a winner's mindset. So uh, I'm pretty burnt out already. I'm being 100% honest with you. I don't really, have these very dramatic, emotional streams very often. I think the last time that we did that was maybe May 16th or May, whatever, when we had a -30, -40% drop in May of 2021. So that's probably the last time we had a pretty emotional stream like we're having today. So Soul, very much the same deal. We kind of just assume level to level towards the downside. Every time one level breaks, we just immediately assume that we're probably just headed to the next level. So for me, that means that below $80 Soul, and that's our nearmost support level when we're above it. But if we lose that zone and the same exact downtrend that saw us into that zone continues below that zone, we're probably just going to head to the next zone. So to me, that just means $42 Soul, And and really you would take everything that I just said about Luna and you would take that system, right? The mentality and the system behind everything that we just said and copy and paste it to Soul, but just find out what is more applicable here. So for Luna, we said the 3 hour 200s is what we want to watch, the hourly 200s, the 15-minute and the 5 minute. We labeled each and every single one of those as significant even on a very small scale. So the way that I'm going to approach Soul, Avax, and Near is we're going to say the exact same thing, and then we're just going to apply to whatever is relevant to Soul, Avax, and Near. All right. So for Soul, we're going to be watching the 4 hour 200s. Why? Because they get very well respected, right? They're exactly what had us expect downtrend all the way, down into here. Your boy's net worth is pretty close to all-time highs right now, largely due to Sol and this trend shift down here, which led to an immediate 50% move in the next week or two. And then look to buy Sol here only for it to continue downtrending below the 4 hour 200s. And then we kind of just assume, okay, we are downtrending across literally every single time frame again, right? And uh we can't even justify why the daily market structure might even go on and find a higher low at all. So we kind of just assume that we're not going to find a higher low. And at minimum, we're going to find our way back into here. And then, truthfully, since we're not going to find a higher low, we're probably going to find our way below here and come back. And that's exactly what has happened. So 4 hour 200s, largely relevant, something along the lines of daily market structure tied in with that. And that's exactly how we've been managed or been able to navigate our way through the macro trend for Sol. What about something like the hourly 200s? Are those relevant? And I would say yes, absolutely. So now we have for Sol, 4 hour and 1 hour 200 moving averages are how I'm going to be snowballing my way upwards out of weakness and into strength. And then we're going to assume that the tiny little strength snowball that forms, right? Whether it's on the 5 minute or the 15 or the 30 or the hourly or the 4 hour, we're going to assume that that snowball gets crushed eventually and the higher time frame trend continues to take priority because guess what happened here when we created a snowball of strength and our 15-minute, 30-minute, hourly are all uptrending and we're showing strength on these hourly 200s. What happened? The 4 hour 200 said, nope. We smacked our face on those 4 hour 200s. The higher time frame trend took priority and it crushed that snowball again. And somewhere during this bounce, the 5 minute and 15 minute and potentially the 30 minute are all uptrending, right? So we form a little bit of a snowball here, but smaller than what we formed back here. So maybe it's like only a clump of snow. It's not even a full snowball yet, right? And then we smack our face on those hourly 200s that we love so much, right? Look how well they got respected. Look about prior to that. What about on the way up during this trend? We love these hourly 200s. We smack our face on those, and that clump of snow gets crushed back into a snowflake. That's exactly how I'm going to be approaching this. So we're going to anticipate that the higher time frame trend takes priority. In the meantime, if you really want to so deeply, you want to trade these relief bounces along the way, 5 minute 200s, we could say hourly 200s, and then of course 4 hour 200s. And that's what I deem relevant for Sol. So I'll go to AVAX. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because really it is the same exact mindset over and over and over again. Uh, the levels, the gray boxes, whatever, those things get changed, but the mindset behind it all stays exactly the same. Downtrend, 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 level to level, level to level, level to level, right? Into this one. Oh my God, V reversal, have fun staying poor. Did you buy the dip anon? Only for us to break down below that level. And then I would have told you, yeah, if we break down below here, we're probably just going to come down to the next level. You would have told me, wow, Merc, are you serious? Are you really that bearish on AVAX? Have you seen the fundamentals? And we literally did that in one day, right? The day's not even over yet. Here we are at the next level. So again, Just kind of trade it level to level. If we bounce, that makes sense. Support is support. I would think if you come in and try and scalp long or try and buy the dip, which is not a dip, right? It's very obviously a downtrend. If you buy AVAX, I would assume you want to buy AVAX at support. So if we bounce from support, don't be surprised. If we continue to downtrend below that support and into the next support, again, don't be surprised. We are, after all, downtrending. So it is what it is. Uh, can we label the 4 hour 200s relevant? Not really. This is kind of more along the lines of what Bitcoin is doing right now. This looks similar to what Bitcoin is doing, where we established a kind of fair value around like 78, 77, and we deviated above the range only to fall back inside. Of course, somewhere around here, we know that this is in fact the deviation. We are probably going to find our way back into fair value. And of course, we expect range lows as well. We break down below the range, we backtest the range as resistance, and that makes sense. We should be expecting, hey, here we are breaking down below the range. AVAX is no longer fairly priced at $77, $78 as it was for the past, 2 or 3 months. And we're probably going to continue expanding. And the market has collectively agreed that AVAX at $77 is much too expensive and it needs to be priced lower. We're not going to fight that. So are the 4 hour 200s, very relevant right now? Not really. You can maybe find something like the 3 hour or even 2 hour. So here we go. 2 hour 200s for AVAX. That's what I would be using to dictate the high time frame trend. And then can we find anything, somewhat more relevant on a even slightly but more significant scale than that? Hourly 200s, yeah, that's pretty good. Let's not, lock that in just yet. Let's see if we can do a little bit better. 30-minute 200s, I like that more. So you can use either. I like the 30-minute 200s more. So far for AVAX, we have 30-minute and 2 hour 200 moving averages. When we start to reclaim those, that's when the snowball really is starting to build on what we label as significant scales. So, can we dig in even deeper than that? I'm sure we can. If you really so desire, I'm absolutely certain we can. 5-minute 200s, exact local tops for the very exaggerated downtrend that is negative 25% in the past like 24 hours. So, when we reclaim that, again, that snowball kind of just starts to build. So we have 5-minute, and then I would assume you would watch the 30-minute. And then from there, I would think you would watch the 2 hour, right? So AVAX 5-minute, 30-minute, 2 hour, all 200 moving averages per my system. Again, I don't know how to trade it per your system. I only know how to trade it per mine. And that's exactly how I would look to trade it. Last one is near USDT, and then we're going to wrap it up here. So on the daily, this is absolutely 100% a downtrend, right? There's no way to negate that. We are holding support. Congratulations. Support is acting as support. That's exactly what it is there to do, right? The fact that we have bounced from support or the fact that we're still holding support is not by itself a bullish argument. It's just like think of if I gave you a bunch of bearish arguments and your bullish argument was, well, we haven't broken down below this support yet, that's not very strong, right? That's not very convincing. So that is the current bullish argument, quote unquote, for near. So basically, there is no bullish argument, right? We're downtrending across literally every single time frame. I know today has been a bear palooza, and I'm just super macro bearish, and everybody hates me right now. I hate myself a little bit for it, but that's the honest truth, right? We're continuously finding lower highs and lower lows. Really, at this point, everyone should be able to tell me that. I don't care what your system is, 4 hour 200s, Ichimoku, Gann theory, Elliott wave, patterns, trend lines, whatever, right? You should be able to tell me this is a downtrend. More notably, you want to find what are we downtrending along? So near isn't as clean. For this, I would probably use the 2 hour 200s as the macro trend for right now. So if we manage to reclaim those, then things would, seem a lot much better on high time frames. And I would very much assume, okay, we're probably at least going to that level. And then at that point, we are uptrending, right? You have to uptrend on the 5 minute, the hourly, the 2 hour, whatever, uh, in order to reclaim this higher time frame trend. And then you already know, hey, if we head up into this resistance, it's not really that surprising. And then guess what? If we break out above that resistance, we're probably going to head to the next one and the next one and the next one and the next one and the next one, right? And you just kind of hold on to that mentality as much as you possibly can until it stops working, right? And that wave crashes back in. So I would use the 2 hour 200s for a near to dictate the high time frame trend. Let's see what else we can deem as even somewhat relevant. Hourly 200s, and I think this might be the best we can do. So it's not really ideal. Yeah. So like I said, it's not really ideal. Kind of like a mixture between the 30-minute 200s and then 30-minute have been not rendered useless back here. They were actually pretty solid because reclaiming the 30-minute 200s after using them as resistance prior several times did lead to a more significant bounce. Right. So we'll say, like, okay, somewhere around here, we can say, okay, now we're reclaiming that local trend. We'll probably go up to test the high time frame trend. Merck has a gray box confluent with that high time frame trend where it's currently sitting. That seems good to me. That's going to be my take profit, right? So any scalp longs that you might have taken in this zone, I'm assuming you take the profit on them somewhere over here. 10% bounce, so great. Our trend style way of thinking, our domino effect, snowball analogy is playing out beautifully. After we lose that exact same trend, we kind of assume that, okay, the high time frame truly has taken priority. That makes sense. That's kind of what we expect it to do. So we're not really too mad about it. Our snowball gets crushed. Hopefully, we took profit prior to that because we knew the high time frame trend was still bearish. And from there, you kind of give up hope all over again, right? So you expect we come down to $10 again. We might even crash below $10 and head to the next demand zone, $8, and then below that we expect 650, and below that, so on and so forth, right? So you fully expect the snowball got crushed. We're back into a snowflake. There's no bullish argument, and you got that, right? We continue downtrending. Congratulations, you're a genius. Negative 20% downtrend since when you made this kiddish snowball analogy, only for us to kind of chop our way above the 30-minute 200s. So uh, they were previously very relevant. However, now, because we have kind of refused to break down from this zone just yet, we're kind of starting to form like more of like a range kind of consolidation ish structure. So the hourly 200 trend has held priority. So either we're going to continue chopping and maybe reclaim this hourly trend, and this zone does continue to hold for the what, fourth time around, and then maybe we are in this like choppy range, and then we would kind of assume, okay, we're still using the 2 hour 200s, and we're still using these gray boxes, and kind of below this gray box obviously we're still bearish, and above this gray box we're probably reclaiming the high time frame trend. So it's a little bit weirder than everything else. Obviously, this chart looks different than AVAX, KNC, and Luna and Sol charts that we looked at. So it might play out differently as well. So I can't just give you a clear cut, okay, just watch the 5 minute, just watch the 30, just watch the, whatever. It's a little bit more complicated than that. There's potential for a range here, and at the moment, we would kind of assume the hourly 200s are giving us that local trend that we want to see. And if they continue getting chopped up, right? So, meaning like if we reclaim them from here, then we're probably just ranging. And there's probably, we want to stray away from a low time frame analysis, or from a trend analysis, at least on the low time frames, right? And then we would just kind of revert back to relying on these 2 hour 200s to dictate the much higher time frame trend. And if those get chopped up as well, then that's just you got to charge it to the game, right? When they do get reclaimed, we will absolutely assume uptrend, bullish. This is the diamond in the rough. We want to trade the strength, right? Strength kind of is a snowball effect in itself, in that strength tends to attract more strength. If you're a market participant and you want to put your money into something that is going to give you a nice return, and literally everything is downtrending, you're probably going to be attracted to whatever is not downtrending. So if that ends up being near like a week from now or whatever, then we will absolutely assume that, and we will be at risk of just getting chopped up and assuming a trend in something that is just simply going sideways. So then we'll have to be kind of aware for that. This analysis is a lot more complicated. I'm not very happy with the way that I um, kind of described it. Hopefully, it's helpful, at least somewhat. Just kind of plant the seed for now. And then, I think this is one that we might have to come back to on Wednesday and see how our analysis held up, and if we need to make things more complicated than it needs to be, or if this is just simply downtrending across the hourly 200s now instead of the 30-minute 200s via losing this zone, right? And then just heading to what we would anticipate is the next zone. So much more complicated of an analysis than I wanted it to be, but regardless, I think we did pretty well today overall. Hopefully, everyone is doing just fine in the midst of the chaos. Again, there is opportunity in the midst of chaos. So, uh, I think WD Gone has a quote, something along the lines of, "Yeah, I'm hitting you guys with cheesy quotes." He has something along the lines of, "It is always brightest at dusk, right before, um, or wait, at dusk, at dawn." I don't, I don't know. It's, I think he says it's always brightest at dusk, right before the sun begins to recede, and it's always darkest at noontime. No, I said that opposite. Yeah, I said that opposite. Regardless, right? When things seem the scariest, that's when that's when opportunity starts to arise all over again. Do you guys know how forest fires tend to actually create more healthy environments for plants thereafter? After all the ashes burn down, darkest before dawn. There you go. Thank you, Maverick. I very much appreciate you. You are not just a memer. I don't care what Jacob says about you. No, I'm kidding. Um, no, yeah. So it is always darkest before dawn, and then it is always brightest at noontime, just as the sun begins to recede. So um, that's kind of the alpha quote, cheesy quote, corny quote, whatever, that I want to leave you guys with. Regardless, thank you guys for coming to the stream today. I hope everybody had a great weekend and managed to put themselves in great positions. I hope you continue to put yourself in great positions moving forward. And I very much thank everybody for listening to me ramble for 2 hours today. So, and having that heart to heart with me. So, thank you guys so much. I never take it for granted, seriously. And I will see you again on Wednesday. Much love and take it easy.